Welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast, a mix of both solo episodes and expert interviews. Our ideal listener is an early career, ambitious, and passionate online language services provider. She is committed to professional growth and achieving success in the fiercely competitive translation and interpreting industry. She balances multiple responsibilities with resourcefulness, values mentorship, is open to learning, and investing in her professional development journey. She embraces technology and seeks to optimize workflow, eager to connect with like-minded peers and build out her professional network. She is determined to overcome challenges and become a sought-after freelance translator. And here's your host, medical translator and translator business mentor, Jason Willis-Lee.
Gareth Everson helps solopreneurs, small business owners to fix their lead and sales funnels using CRM and sales and marketing automations. Whether you're adding systems to your business for the first time or are getting poor results by doing it yourself or hiring the wrong person to do it the first time around, Gareth is great at working with you to address the challenges that you face. You can follow or connect with him on LinkedIn via the URL askgareth.com. And welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients, a podcast hosted by myself, Jason Willis-Lee. This is the show that makes digital marketing easier and more fun using the perfect combination and just the right dose of business strategy and tech. I'm your host, Jason Willis-Lee, digital marketing specialist, and today I'm very, very thrilled, really thrilled to welcome my colleague, Gareth Everson. Gareth is a highly experienced systems marketer, and he brings a very unique perspective to our discussion. Gareth, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me, Jason.
Thanks for coming on. Can you tell us a bit about your personal and your business journey in systems marketing? I know you're a systems marketer, and your unique vision for the future of the content marketing, systems marketing industry, just to kick us off.
Of course. So for your listeners, I'll explain what systems marketing is. First of all, it's all about being able to manage processes in your business, the sales and marketing processes, more effectively and in a more automated way from end to end. Everything from how you capture leads, where they go to, how you manage them, how you educate people, through to making sales, and then the all important getting reviews or getting follow-up work from those clients that you bring on board. And I help my clients to automate as many processes as they can without losing that personal connection that they have with their clients, or without it feeling like somebody's going through a process, an automated process with them.
Can you give us a specific example of a process you automate for my audience?
So probably one of the biggest ones in the context of your audience is, how do you turn those initial inquiries that you receive into a client somewhere down the line? So few people who find you via your website or via social media or something like that are actually in a position and ready to buy from you. And the majority of businesses forget to follow up. Leads fall through the cracks, and they don't continue to engage with people and through that buyer's journey until they're ready to buy, and until they're confident and trust you enough to buy from you. So that's a really good way of sort of describing one of those processes.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm always saying to my audience and my students that I coach, everything comes downstream of lead generation. This is something that Dan Priestley teaches people like you and me. And I say this ad infinitum, so here you are, guys, you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. Lead generation is the be-all and end-all. Can you share a bit about your academic and professional background? How did you get into this game, content marketing? I know when we initially met, you said you had an 18-year-old. I think we're a similar age, late 40s, hopefully. Otherwise, I'm going to feel very old. And you have an 18-year-old. I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. How did you get into this game? And I'm guessing you've been in the industry for a good 20 years or so. How's it changed in the last 20 years? And how did you get started?
So if we start from the beginning, I did a management studies with languages degree at university. And I've always had an interest in communicating and overcoming the challenges of how we communicate with others. For me, I wasn't a great linguist, but I spent a year living and working in Germany as part of my degree course.
Cool.
And one of the exciting things about working in an environment there was overcoming all of those little micro challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis. How do you get yourself understood? How do you manage your workload and get stuff done in a language that isn't your first language? And that problem solving then translated itself into a career in technology. I worked for a company called Accenture, who are a large systems implementer with blue chip companies. I worked with them for 8 years as a graduate until the point where once I got married and we had our first child, Jack, who, as you say, is now 18 years old. Yeah. I got to the point where I wanted to leave the corporate lifestyle. I was working alongside people on projects overseas and around the UK who were losing connections with their families. And I didn't want to be in that situation in 5 to 10 years' time where I didn't have a relationship with my son, hadn't seen him grow up.
Yeah.
And so I left corporate life, and for the last 17, 18 years, I've had my own businesses. I've had 4 different businesses, but I've always had a technology focus. And for the last 12 years, I've worked with small owner-managed businesses in the service sector who face the challenges of wanting to spend more of their time either working with clients and on client projects, or have more time flexibility around what they do in their own lives, not having to do business admin in the evenings and at weekends. I help those types of business owners to automate some of the things that they can do and systemize some of the things that they're able to do within their businesses. And I absolutely love it, Jason. It brings with it a lot of those communication challenges that I learned to deal with when I was working in Germany as a linguist back in the day, but also those day-to-day challenges that we face as owner-managed businesses. And when I can help people to overcome those, it makes a difference not only for their businesses, but also for their clients and for their lives outside of work. And I love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think we have a few German English translators listening in. Hopefully, German's a common source language, not one of my professional languages, but my German's a bit ropey. It's about B2 school A-level standard, as I gave up at 16. Probably a mistake. I should have gone on to A-level. Could you discuss a few? So, using the tech example, you're obviously a tech specialist. Could you discuss some strategies that you currently use that my audience of freelance service providers can use to attract and retain their ideal clients? Can you sort of give them a hack using the tech example, which is your niche and your specialism?
So what I'd encourage every business owner or self-employed business owner that's out there to think about is, what does your sales and marketing funnel look like now, and what should it look like in terms of being able to turn more interest into paying clients and ongoing either retained clients or repeat clients that come back to you? So that's what I always start with. I always start with what your funnel looks like. How do you go about attracting those leads that come into your business, whether it's posting helpful content on social media or using ads or whatever mechanism you have to generate leads that come in. One of the frailties of most small businesses, especially experts like you and your audience are in the translation space, is that we overlook making it easy for people who find us to register their interest in something related to our business. So have you got things like chat widgets, opt-in forms, lead magnets on your website that make it easy for me, if I've got a translation project that I want to undertake, to make contact with you, to leave my details, to understand the buying process and some of the challenges around the problems that I want to address with that project, make it easy for me to understand how to address those challenges that I've got, and in so doing, build trust in you as a business to help me to do that for me. So that's one of the big things. How do you generate that interest, and how do you capture those leads that come to you on your website? The next thing one of the next big areas that you should look out for is people aren't generally ready to buy when they register their interest. Only roughly 3% of people who discover you are in buying mode. So what happens to those other 97% that are there? How are you nurturing them via email, text message, or perhaps direct messages if they found you via your Facebook page or Instagram or somewhere like that? How are you interacting with those people and nurturing them through a process until they're ready to buy? So I call that education marketing. It's having a 90-day or 180-day automated marketing process that's scheduling emails that go out to those people that give them insights into how best to solve their problems. So that's all about the lead generation and nurture process. Obviously, you then have an operational process to sell to them. But once you've done that work, then there are two challenges that you probably face in your business. One is, how do we know when they're ready to buy from us again, and how can we nudge them towards that so that they become clients instead of customers, ongoing clients instead of customers? So how do you keep them nurtured? And that's probably some sort of bi-weekly newsletter, something like that, where you're providing insights of things to look out for and how they can run their businesses more effectively, how they can run their processes more effectively. And then secondly, how do you build a reputation online? So do you have a process that's in there that automatically, when you've done a good piece of work for somebody, is nudging them to leave you a review on a platform that's meaningful to you, whether it's on a specific industry review platform, or whether it's a LinkedIn testimonial or a Facebook review or something like that? Where do you want people to find you? And are you systematically asking for reviews there? So 3 or 4 really good pinch points there that, with process management, better automated processes, any translation business owner can improve their conversion rates and their retention rates of clients.
Yeah, another thing I bang on a lot about is social proof testimonials. So key. You mentioned chat widgets. Could you give us a specific example of a chat widget to integrate into a website? I know mine uses one that begins with D, but I can't remember the name of the widget. Do you have one to recommend? Or
yeah, there are lots of them out there. If all you want is a chat widget, and something like ManyChat does the job, I would really strongly recommend, and we might come on to this, thinking about an all-in-one CRM platform that incorporates a chat widget into it. The platform that I love and use and recommend to my clients is called Go High Level, which is available from $97 a month. That incorporates a chat widget in there where you can automate either immediate replies if you're not available, or you can have it so that it pings your phone when somebody messages you online, if you want to have that more authentic one-to-one conversation with somebody. So couple of options there to have a look at.
Fantastic. So service provider content marketing, how can our audience get this going? How can we leverage an intentional content marketing strategy to find ideal target clients? I mean, I teach, get 3 pillars going and just get used to. I work with people, maybe they're 5 years into the industry, they're building out their website, they're just getting used to posting their first post. They're still newbies in many senses of the word. How can they leverage an intentional strategy to, as you say, nurture the prospects and nudge them towards the sale on the buyer's journey?
Yeah, so your key thing is being able to recognize the problems that your buyers are encountering. So if you have a target market, what kind of problems do they need to address, whether they know it or they don't know it? And if you think about your content in 3 different stages of where that buyer's journey is at, and they have acronyms. So TOFU is top of funnel, MOFU is middle of funnel, BOFU is bottom of funnel. And the difference between those is bottom of funnel is somebody is in buying mode. They're ready to buy. They've got the budget to pay for something. They've looked at the various different providers. They're ready to go. So your content there is more around helping them to understand a buying process. This is how you should buy translation services of X, Y, or Z, whatever niche that you're in. That's BOFU content. MOFU, middle of funnel content, is where somebody is more in research mode. They've understood their problems, they know the challenges that they want to address, and they're looking for alternatives. There's some really good resources that speak to middle of funnel content and the type of content that you should be creating in order to attract people who are middle of funnel. One is They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. Wonderful book, and it describes 5 different types of pieces of content that you can create for people that are at middle of funnel. The other ones is by speakers who are at Atomicon, where we met, and by a couple called Martin Huntback and Lindsay Cambridge, who are man and wife business who run a business called Jammy Digital.
Jammy Digital, yeah.
And their book is called The Content Fortress. And what I love about that book is that it talks about creating content with the purpose of selling. It's helpful content, but it has the goal of being able to facilitate how you sell to the right people and how you get them in the mindset of solving their problems by buying from you. But it's an education type process rather than a hard sell type process. Those 2 resources are great for helping you to identify and capture middle of funnel prospects. If we then close the loop and then talk about top of funnel is where somebody has problems or they've got symptoms of problems and they're just doing some basic research, some initial research online to investigate how to address those problems that they've got. So in the context of somebody that's looking for translation services that's never done that before, they're probably typing certain key phrases into Google around getting specific types of industry specific documentation or what have you translated from one language into another language. So if you can speak to those 3 components of that, the content, the language from, and the language to, then you can position yourself in the right place on Google to be able to capture that initial inquiry type or that investigation type, discovery type inquiry, and meet them at the point where you're able to then take them onto that next piece of journey. So your landing page, your lead magnet on something like that would be something along the lines of top 10 tips on how to hire a translation company and not fail. Something along those lines. People are either moving towards a solution or away from a problem. So think about that in terms of the content that you're creating at those parts of the funnel.
And that could be a good lead magnet, a good opt-in, a way to get closer to the provider. Just what you mentioned there would be a good.
So your key thing at any of those 3 stages, you're absolutely right, Jason, is how do we capture that lead into our business in a relevant way so that we can follow up with them in a way that meets them where they're at in their buying journey. You'll be following up with those 3 different types of inquiry in 3 different ways.
Yeah, superb references there. I've heard of The Content Fortress by Martin Hunback. I haven't yet read it fully, but I will do, and we'll get those references.
Excellent read.
Yeah, fantastic.
I should be on commission from them. The number of times I recommend that book to my clients.
Well, get an affiliate link and then start promoting the affiliate link. Yeah. So let's talk about challenges. I mean, what challenges do you see in your world, in the content marketing industry? You're helping your customers sell through automated processes and systems, as you've said. What are the challenges? Is it difficult to get the sales? Is that getting the more sales, or what are there other technological challenges how do you overcome these, and what kind of problems have you encountered in your career?
The biggest challenge that my clients face, or my target clients as well, the biggest challenge that they face is they're basically at a fork in the road when it comes to thinking about how to automate their processes. Down one of the forks is the absolute confusion of so much software, so many different options, so many different apps that you can buy to help you to run your business. And that ends up in this situation of digital spaghetti, where things are all over the place, processes aren't being managed in an effective way. One piece of software doesn't talk to another one or doesn't speak to it in the same way. So your version of what a contact is very different to what another piece of software is. It becomes difficult to join those things together. Yeah. And as a result, things are either all over the place or you don't use them effectively enough. My voice in countering that is not as loud as the size of the marketing budgets of many of these software providers. So that is one of my biggest challenges, and also my clients' challenges, that they don't have clarity on what specifically they need. The other direction in the fork is that when people look at that and they go, maybe they're not techie, maybe they're not systems minded, is they just think this is all just too confusing, I'm not going to do anything. And as a result, they end up either missing opportunities by not following up more effectively, or finding that when they are managing their activities and managing their processes manually, it's taking up way too much of their time. So instead of selling the services that they're paid for and working with the clients that they want to be working, instead they're managing their business admin. They're doing proposals manually, they're following up with people manually on email, and it's just taking way too much of their time, where they're eating into their valuable billable hours or eating into their time outside of work that they could be spending doing things that they'd much rather be doing with their families.
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge that I see in the marketplace at the moment. And the answer to the glib answer to all of that is to have more of a coherent strategy around where you want your business to be in 2 or 3 years' time, and looking at good all-in-one solutions that manage enough of those processes to help you to run your business effectively through using actually less pieces of software in your business. That's the answer, but it's just about breaking through and getting that message out to our markets so that they understand that.
Yeah, I'm sure so many of our listeners can relate to what you say about manual follow-ups and email. That's something I can relate to, certainly.
Yeah.
Finding inspiration for aspiring content marketers. I mean, most of my audience are excellent linguists, very good translators. Maybe they struggle a bit with the content marketing aspect of side of things. Do you have any sort of top tips, good advice for them to really dominate this niche and grow? Because this is how you grow, by getting outside of your comfort zone, doing things that feel uncomfortable. I mean, I've been doing this for the last couple of years and doing some business consultancy, and really have seen a positive effect on my skill set, which is just incredible, and on my revenue as well. Do you have any advice for translators who are just struggling a little bit, who, you know, they're getting by, but they'd like to grow a little more, they'd like to find more direct clients, they'd like to add, let's say, 10K more onto the bottom line? How would they do that from a content marketing perspective? How would they, can you inspire them to sort of get out and start posting and feel confident and find their voice? Because a lot of people, I think, struggle about thinking, what will people think of me? And they're very reticent to go online. And this is something I find mindset difficulties with my clients. They are not feeling confident, so they lack confidence to just go out and, you know, who cares what people think? Just get something out there, just start. And then you can build cadences and you can build, refine things as you go along. But the key is to start, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I've got 2 tips, actually.
Yeah.
One is that the irony of being great at your art, being a good communicator and helping people to be understood in different languages. That's what we do as translators, right? When we're working in that space.
Yeah.
The massive irony of that is that we're not necessarily great communicators of our own art. It's this curse of expertise. We understand what we do to such a low level of detail that sometimes when we're so expert at that and we're great technicians at that, we sometimes don't move up a level or two to make it simpler for our audience. It's the curse of expertise, right? So one thing that I would encourage you to do is, I hate this phrase, but I'm going to use it anyway, to try to put yourself in the frame of your buyer more when it comes to creating content. And the phrase that I hate is dumb it down, because I think that simplifies too much what I'm encouraging you to do here.
Yeah.
What I'm really encouraging you to do is, just like you would do when you're creating a translation for somebody and you're conducting a translation project for somebody, put yourself in that mindset of the person at the other side of the table. What are the challenges? What are the problems? What are the symptoms of those problems that they're encountering in their business right now? What is that stopping them from doing in their business or in their life that your service can help them do? And if you start from that point of coming at it from not a technical or a technician standpoint, but from a commercial standpoint, and from a standpoint where you have real empathy for the target market that you have and how they buy and the problems that they face and the challenges that they need to overcome. If you can start to tone your content in that kind of frame, I think you'll connect a lot more with the kind of people that you're looking to bring more into your world so that you can sell more to them. So that's on the lead generation side of things. Then so on a second side of things, once you've conducted projects, like you were saying, Jason, having social proof for the work that you've done, reviews, testimonials, case studies for the activities that you've been involved with, and how, not just the technical detail of how you did the translations, but the impact that had. What doors did it swing open for those businesses or those clients that you worked for that helped them to achieve objectives that were missing from their lives before they worked with you? That's the difference that words and communication can have. When we're able to help people to reach new audiences, to reach new markets with the work that we do for them, that's a story that you should be telling out into your networks. And that will help you to generate further interest and further leads down the line. So give that some real serious thought. That would be my tip there as well.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. So it really is honing the content to understanding the prospect's problem, and then coming along with the solution-aware content. But first of all, it's making them aware of the problem, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
how you can help them as a provider, as a translator, how you can help them reach whatever goal they want, reaching an international market, localizing, getting on a new continent, getting a website into another 3 languages, whatever it is that they're trying to do. So that was a fantastic answer. Thank you. Let's move on to the final 5. We ask all our guests these questions. So I'll just hit you with these, and you just give me the first answer that comes to mind. What's one productivity, a feel-good productivity tool or tip you can't live without? How do you measure your own productivity? How do you continue to be a high performer that you are?
I mentioned it earlier, having a thought process for where you want to be in 2 to 3 years' time, and having an all-in-one CRM that does a combination of what we class as classical CRM, the understanding the contact and their history and where they've come from, but also combining with that the ability to do email marketing, perhaps to create proposals and get paid from that, ask for reviews, those kind of things. That's what you should be looking for, I think, in a really good productivity tool for your business. It's not a small one. It's probably something that needs a little bit more thought about, but having that has been, for me, I'm sort of taking my own medicine here. That for me has been the biggest tipping point between having an average business and having a business that I can run without very much help at all in it. I can run as a solopreneur.
Yeah, you mentioned Go High Level, which is the CRM you mentioned to your clients. We'll definitely get a link out to that. What's the best business investment you've ever made? Would it be your CRM? Same answer, or is something?
No, it
else?
wouldn't actually. I think when I was thinking about this, Jason, I was thinking, is it a big investment that I've made, or is it a smaller one? Is it a time investment? And actually, there was a chain of events when I ran my first business. When I left corporate, I bought into a franchise organization, and it was probably my second or third worst investment that I ever made. But while I was there and I was looking for alternative, I didn't want to go back to corporate. I wanted to stay in either self-employment or running my own business. Somebody recommended to me that I should buy Michael E. Gerber's book, The E-Myth Revisited. And you've probably heard that mentioned before in terms of a really good book that everybody should read. It's all about having systems and processes in your business. And he tells the story about a lady who has a apple pie making shop who is pulled from pillar to post running that business. That book itself wasn't the best investment that I've ever made in my business reading that, but it had a chain event, a domino effect onto the next book that I then wanted to read off the back of it. I then became interested, partly through my technology background, but I became further interested in systems and processes in business. So there was actually a book that I then read by a chap called John Warrilow, and this is the best book I've ever read in a business setting, the best investment that I've ever made in my business. His second book, called The Automatic Customer, has 16 different ways that you can build a business with elements of recurring revenues in them.
Yeah.
Some people call it passive income. Don't particularly like that phrase, but recurring revenues. And a business with recurring revenues has far more value than one that's based on project-based stuff. Every single business that's out there can build in some way, some recurring revenues into their business. It makes your business more valuable, makes it more predictable, it makes it more fun to run, and it turns you into a more effective entrepreneur. So buying that book by John Warrilow, The Automatic Customer, he's also got another book called Built to Sell, which is for businesses like yours or mine, which are generally more project-oriented.
Yeah.
How do you turn a project-oriented or an agency-based business into something that's more sellable? That was his first book, but The Automatic Customer is by far and away the best investment I ever made in my business.
I'm literally resisting grabbing my Kindle right now, getting the freezer, buying these 3 books immediately. So built to Sell, The Automatic Customer, and the E-Myth Revisited. I've heard of the E-Myth Revisited. I hadn't heard of the other 2. I don't like passive income either. I tend to talk about leveraged income. So leveraging, I help people build out their assets and then pulling the lever on those assets in their favor and getting the revenue. So passive income kind of implies there's no work involved. Leveraged income is a lot of work building the asset.
Yeah, I call it recurring revenue, but I like leveraged income as well.
It's the same idea, isn't it?
Yep.
Third, final 5 question. What's the best business advice you've ever received yourself from a mentor, perhaps, or perhaps you've given someone else, a colleague, a mentee? What's the best business advice you've ever received or passed on to someone else?
The best advice that I've ever been given, that I haven't always necessarily applied, Jason, so I would give that caveat. The best business advice I've ever been given is pivot. So if you're not hitting the goals that you're intending to, or if you're not managing to strike gold with the types of clients that you're looking for, the type of work that you're trying to do, there's probably something missing with one of 2 things: who you're targeting, so the person or the business that you're trying to target, or secondly, the way that you're framing your services that you're presenting to them, or the product that you're presenting to them. And that word pivot is a word that is used extensively in Eric Ries's book, The Lean Startup, but it's all about finding your product market fit that very predictably turns interest and problems that people have into inquiries into what you do and into business for you and income for your business. So if you're not quite managing to strike gold with your target audience, think about how you can tweak one of those things. Is it the right audience? Is it the right offer? Is it the right way of delivering what you do and framing how you do that with your content? All of those things can be changed without dramatic disruption to the way that you run your business.
I think product market fit is so important. I have read The Lean Startup, and would you agree that pivot was the watchword during the pandemic? Everyone was pivoting from 2020 onwards, those 2 or 3 years afterwards, the pandemic. Let's say it lasted, a couple of difficult years, and then it got slightly better. Everyone was pivoting and everyone was moving online. Zoom just, had we all bought Zoom shares in March 2020, we'd all be millionaires now.
It was a paradigm shift, wasn't it?
It was a paradigm shift, yeah. So, the Lean Startup, will get that reference to the audience as well. What's the biggest myth that people believe when it comes to systems or content marketing? What's the biggest myth that comes across? I'd like to do myth busting. For example, you need a website to run a 6-figure business. Not true. I know people who run 6-figure businesses without a website. A website helps. It's a brilliant asset to have, and I help people build it out, but it's not essential. What kind of myth busting do you do in your world on a daily basis?
There are loads, but let me pick one. So The one that I absolutely loathe when it comes to my sector is people referring to email marketing as a newsletter.
Right.
That has two problems. One is that it puts you in that mindset of only sending something out every month to your list. The monthly newsletter is a term that I really loathe.
Yes.
And it's the biggest myth. Two problems with that. Nobody cares about your news. They only care about their problems. So let's get out of the zone of thinking about news. Nobody really cares what you're up to. They care about how you can solve their problems.
Yeah.
And the second thing, if you're only communicating with them once a month and your open rate is, let's say, for argument's sake, a third of opens, that means that on average, it's going to take somebody 3 months to open one of your emails. And when they go in there, it's just full of news or guff that isn't particularly relevant to them.
Yeah.
So the biggest myth for me is get out of the zone of thinking that your email marketing needs to be a monthly newsletter. Get into the zone of thinking more about your target market's problems and start talking about that a whole lot more. And use your emails in two ways. One, automated email nurture for the first 90 or 180 days of somebody making an inquiry with you. And then when somebody's gone through that indoctrination process, that education process into the way that you work and the problems that you address, make sure that you're sending relevant content to them at least every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I started my email marketing with a monthly cadence, and then I gradually built it up weekly. I don't I pretty much follow your advice, what you just said. I use it as a, for example, I'm just I did an email blast today to my book buyers, and I said, hope you enjoyed it. Could you do me a review? Would you be interested in a call? That was just a way of trying to get those people who've shown initial interest in buying the low-cost book asset I created to support the brand. So that's the way I try and use it. As you say, you need to steer away from the trivial, the stuff and the guff. There's a word I haven't heard in a few years, guff. I've been in Spain for 24 years. I don't think I've heard that word in many, many years. That brings back some memories.
Isn't language beautiful?
It is. It is. I mean, that's the type of word I love as a linguist. And when you said it, I thought my eyes lit up, because you don't get that down here in Madrid, even amongst the expats. That we don't talk about guff. So fantastic. This is brilliant. One last question on the final five. Just one word. First one that comes to mind. How would you describe AI? I need to take this question out because AI is so hyped and over talked about. But what's the one word that springs to mind when I say AI to you?
There are so many, but when I thought about this, it's disparity is the word that I would use.
Disparity.
And I think there will be, with AI and with the proliferation of AI tools and how we can use it, there'll be a disparity between almost like the haves and the have-nots. And the haves in this space are people that invest the time to understand how to best use it. And the have-nots are those people that will come along and will use generic prompts or expect amazing outcomes from very poor inputs. And I think it will widen that gap, if you like, between the great and the good. The great will get better and use it more effectively, and the good or the average or the poor will really suffer, because what AI will bring to those who use it more effectively is more automation, more effectiveness, more repurposing of the content that they have, better ideas, a wider variety of ideas, and it will create this disparity between the good and the not so good.
One of the most amusing things I took away from Atomicon was Chat BLT. Chat BLT, always one to like a BLT sandwich. I thought that was hilarious. So you must be a Chat GPT user on a daily basis. Can you give us a couple of tips how you do your prompting and how you optimize the output by optimizing the input? I mean, do you just do it? Do you just train it a bit better and feed it the information? That's basically what I do.
I'm constantly looking for improvements. I don't know about you, Jason.
Yeah.
But the two big ones for me are, obviously I write for a British English audience, and one of my big frustrations with ChatGPT is that unspecified, they'll give you responses in American English. So getting it to use Oxford English is is the prompt that I use. Please provide responses in Oxford English. Please use the tone that I've included, perhaps in a paragraph or two, by way of exemplars. And then the final thing that I do that I haven't quite honed perfectly, it doesn't quite get this right all the time for me. I have an overused words list, and it's got about 80 different words in there where I'll give it words that will often come out of ChatGPT that you just don't want to see. Nobody ever really uses them if they're being creative with their words, but ChatGPT tends to overuse certain words, and I'll give it examples of words that it should use as alternatives. It's pretty good with those words where they're embedded within paragraphs, but tends to be pretty terrible when that word opens a paragraph, when one of the overused words opens a paragraph. So I do need to hone in on that. But those are my two tips. So ask it to write in the in the orientation of the language that you're using. So for me, it's British English, and Oxford English is the prompt that I use there. And try to get it to follow your tone of voice, but not overuse certain words that it tends to. Those are my biggest tips from using ChatGPT for the last year.
Yeah, those are great tips for content creators with market specific, US market or Australian English, or we all work in different variants of English. Depending on my client, I may use American English, I may use British English. Yesterday, I actually typed in, tell me, I follow a content creator, I think her name is Marianne DiMazzo on Instagram, large audience. And I typed in a suggestion of hers, what can you tell me about Jason Willis-Lee? And it just went on a few seconds, just crawling the websites, my online assets. It looked at my website, entrepreneurtranslator.com, and it came back with something fairly reasonable. So I advise you to do this, just to see what ChatGPT has on you. What do you know about Gareth Everson, or what can you tell me about Jason Willis-Lee? And I did this, and it was reasonably accurate. So I advise all of you to ask Chat what Chat knows about you, just as an exercise, as you should ask Google, and you should know what Google has on you. You should know which web pages are indexed, and that's useful information. Gareth, where can my listeners connect with you and learn more about your work and expertise? And I know your company is called the Lemonade Plan. Can you tell my audience what content marketing has to do with Lemonade? Because this is a great question. This is a question I should have asked you right at the top of the episode.
So I'll explain the Lemonade Plan. I stopped drinking 3 years ago now, Jason, and I really enjoy my life beyond alcohol. And a couple of years ago, I was playing around with some ideas for a book that I still haven't written, that I plan to. So your listeners, if they do connect with me, will be able to get that book at some stage this summer. And I love an acronym. Like you, I love language, I love communicating. And acronyms are a really good way of helping people to understand their challenges and how to address them. And I was playing around with various different acronyms, and Lemonade fit really well for sales and marketing processes. Lemonade, as the acronym, the 8 letters that are in there go from leads, so how we capture our leads, through to the final E, which is endorsements. Endorsements being how we get reviews, referrals, or repeat sales. And there are all sorts of stages in between. The 3 most important ones from my perspective and my clients are the first 3. LEM, how you get leads, how you educate those leads, and how you turn those educated leads into meetings. So LEM. O, N, A, D, and D are offers, how you make offers to those people. N is how you welcome new clients. A is how you sell add-on services or projects to them.
Yes.
D is how we deliver. And then obviously E is how we proactively and automatically ask for those endorsements.
Yeah.
So Lemonade Plan is my play at simplifying the 8 key sales and marketing processes in your business. And leading on to where your listeners can find me, probably the best place is on LinkedIn. And if you use the URL askgareth.com, that'll go straight to my LinkedIn profile. And if, when you're connecting with me, if you have the ability to add a note to it, if you just mention that you were introduced to me via Jason's podcast, it'd be a great way to connect. That's probably the best way to find me. It's where I share the majority of my content and insights and little rants about the world, I'd love to connect with you there.
I love the personal branding story about the lemonade, and presumably you've got lemons, and there's some graphical things here as well, logos and things.
Yeah, how do we keep the fizz in our client relationships, Jason? That's another nice little play on it as well.
That's personal branding. There you have it. That's personal branding, which is the way to go these days. We're all personal brands.
Yeah, I'm the lemonade guy.
The lemonade guy. That's amazing. Well, we love lemonade, and we have a supplier in a place called Vejer de la Frontera, which is near Cadiz. And this is lemonade with a splash of ginger. And it's just that little bit of picante. It's a little bit spicy, and it is fantastic for these months. And we buy a big crate of it. And Thomas, who's the Danish lemonade grower, sends it up from there, and it's with me in the day.
A little kick to it.
A little kick to the lemonade, yeah. Imagine Beautiful. If you put a splash of gin in as well. That would be amazing. Any final thoughts, Gareth, or key takeaways for my audience? What do you want them to take away from this episode? It's been absolutely fantastic having you on. Really fantastic getting your insights. Thank you so much for doing this. Any final thoughts or key takeaways? What's the notable nugget you want people to...
Well, first of all, you're very welcome, and thank you for having me on. The key things that I'd like people to take away, probably threefold. One, let's get out there and share our content more, but specifically not the technician's content, but addressing and speaking to the problems that your audience are facing. That will engage people a lot more. When you've done that, they're more likely to become leads, and you need to have those places that they can become leads on your website: landing pages, lead magnets, chat widgets, even a means to automate them sending text messages to you if that's your gig. Follow up with them, so nurture them, because only 3% of people that register their interest are ready to buy right there and then. It takes time to turn the good clients into clients. And then finally, don't forget to ask for the review or the recommendation or the testimonial or the referral. Those are all important factors. Sometimes when we're doing project work, our big aim is to get that project over the line and delivered and out of our hair. Actually, that's where the fun starts, because if they're valuing what you're doing, ask them for some sort of credibility factor that comes back in your direction, because they'll feel warmer about your relationship. They're more likely to refer you to others, and that's going to have benefits for your business. You're going to be able to more easily generate leads and business going forward. So think about those three things. You don't have to be a robot to do all of those things using good systems and processes in your business. Just go out there and do it. And if I can help in any way, if you've got questions that you have around anything that we talked about, you know where to find me at askgareth.com on LinkedIn, and we'll connect there.
Fantastic tips. Thank you so much for lead generation for my audience. That's very helpful. Okay, let's wrap it up for today's episode of how to find more direct clients. Please stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the ever-evolving landscape of language and digital marketing. Until next time, as I always say, stay on your game, and don't forget to future-proof your career in the AI digital era. From myself, Jason Willis-Lee, goodbye, and many thanks again to my special guest today, Gareth Everson. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Here's a fun fact about Jason. Jason loves watching Modern Family with his wife and 2 daughters. Thanks for tuning in to the How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, why not head over to www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com to access all our tools and resources to monetize and future-proof your freelance translation business. And don't forget to hit the plus button in Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or subscribe in Spotify to be notified when new episodes drop. For regular tips and insights, business strategy, or marketing techniques straight to your inbox, please sign up at www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com.